So, wow. Right now we get to the important part here. Everything was important, but introducing our speaker today, who most of you already know, is my daughter. And I'm going to share something that, you know, how kids, when they grow up, they hate it when you share things about when they're little. Before I introduce her talk today, I remember when she was even just a baby, she would scream really loud and she would rebel against most anything you tell her. But I have to say that that is part of what brought her to where she is today. And she's become an amazing woman and an amazing mother of two, my granddaughters. So I want to read her a little bit about Lana and then her talk and her quotes. So she is currently the owner of Santa Monica Music Center and School and creator and executive director of Outreach Through the Arts, which is a nonprofit serving at-risk youth. On the board of National Association of Music Merchants as well. And she recently became councilwoman in the city of Santa Monica. And needless to say, I'm very, very proud of Lana, and I'm looking forward to her speaking here today. So her talk today is called Surfing the Waves of Life and Trusting the Process. And some of her quotes, first one by Ernest Holmes, is, instead of dwelling on negative thoughts, cause your mind to dwell on peace and joy. And the second one, which I believe she may even have tattooed on her arm somewhere. She believed she could, and so she did, and that's by R.S. Gray. And her affirmation is, out of the difficulties of life, grow new beginnings. I trust the process. All right, let's welcome Lana.
Lana, just a little moment. I give you a thumbs up. Okay, just a moment, please. Okay, let's try. I hope it works.
She good to go? Okay, good.
Okay.
We can hear you.
I can hear myself after, which is a little weird.
Maybe it's too loud. Okay, there you go.
Okay. I can still hear myself, but I don't know if that's avoidable. I think someone else has, maybe you guys have two things on Zoom, but like I'm seeing you and then I'm seeing the crowd. If one of them's off, then it doesn't do that.
Okay, I let her know. Lana, this one is muted. So there's only the one that's unmuted.
Lana, when you have a free day, we invite you over to help us with the text.
We'll figure it out. I can hear myself after. I just have to block it out.
Okay, are you gonna be okay with that?
I don't know how to change that here. No.
It's whenever there's two at the same time, it's going to do that. You'd have to actually log off of one of them. I don't know if that.
Okay, would this work for you? Is this okay? Would you mind? Because we're trying to do that and it's causing other issues.
Yours.
So we're inviting you over to come and help us with this issue.
Yeah, maybe she.
Do we need the one that's facing you, Mom?
Lana, how about if you mute yours? I mean,
Is that any better?
turn down her volume.
Now it's echoing here.
It doesn't have to do with the volume. I mean, I can deal with it. It's just imagine you're talking and then you're hearing yourself. Oh, that's better. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, that's good. Sorry. Am I ready to start?
Yes.
Okay, yay. Well, first of all, thank you guys for having me, because I have to say that being able to meet once a week, whatever your religious or your spiritual tradition is so important, because it's literally the refueling that we need for the rest of the week. So I love the idea of coming together, and the fuel is really everybody's energy. We give it to each other, we receive, and we're able to go out into the week and live our lives. And so this is so important, and I'm just grateful to be a part of it today. So thank you for filling up my gas tank today. I hope I can fill yours a little bit. So my mom mentioned, yes, that is one of my favorite quotes, and it is tattooed on my arm. She believed she could, so she did. I'm a person of metaphors. I think much like my mom, being visual helps me explain the somewhat unexplainable, and it gives me the ability to sort of put the pieces together. So you'll see throughout my talk, I use metaphors, and I do that a lot in life. I'm going to read you this, and I'm going to pause at points just to engage with you guys. And if afterwards anyone has questions or wants to engage in a discussion, I welcome that. Riding the waves of life, trusting Mother Nature. When I look out into the vast ocean and see that horizon, there's a sense of overwhelm, but in a peaceful way. I feel I belong, but to something so much greater than the small grains of sand of which I'm standing on looking out. My sense of self-worth becomes immersed in the bigger picture. I feel connected to Mother Earth, the universe, humanity, and that greater power that unites all living things. The ocean is my teacher, and you can use it as a metaphor for your own life. It is a body of water that connects continents, crosses time zones, has a life force and ecosystem below its surface. The surface is sometimes cold, warm, choppy, smooth, murky, and sometimes clear as glass. Some oceans you can see right to the bottom, while others are so dark at the surface you have to dive deep to see what lies beneath. What is true of all oceans is that whatever is going on below will eventually rise to the top. When there is pollution in the ocean, we see the remnants washed up on shore. When sickness overtakes sea life, we see the surface of the water change color. Tending to what lies beneath the surface is crucial to the health of the entire ecosystem. This is how I view my spirituality, making time to clean my inner house so that it doesn't wash up pollution onto the beach that connects me to the rest of the world, because then I am affecting the ecosystem on the surface. And that surface is often used as a mirror by others. Like everyone in this room, my ocean has always had a combination of rough, choppy waves and smooth, glassy waters. I've managed to weather the storms and survive the tidal waves with a clear understanding of what benefits those rough tides can bring, and a learned understanding of how to appreciate each part of the wave and understand what it is preparing me for. And I'll stop and say thank you, Mom, for being that person that has taught me that. Most recently, I endured a lot of adversity and challenges that were soul-crushing in a short amount of time. During the pandemic, I had recently taken over a family business and was struggling to get it out of a potential bankruptcy, and finally making headway when the pandemic hit and shut us down. I'm sure all of you have your stories of how the pandemic affected you in some way. My income was immediately threatened while I struggled to navigate the government loan process, how to pay all of our employees, and find a way to still stay in business somehow. During this time, my kids were sent home from school, and now I had to become a homeschool teacher on top of the stress of everything else. My marriage was not enduring the stress while bills were piling up, and there seemed to be no end in sight. Then our music store, was allowed to open at a limited capacity, and we were starting to sell virtual lessons, and things were looking up. During this time, I was feeling pretty sorry for myself. It felt as if I had just been smacked down by an unsuspecting huge wave and was tumbling around underneath with no prospect of coming up for air. Then we opened the doors that Friday, May 29th, 2020. I felt my head had finally bobbed to the surface and I was gasping for air. Right as I got my footing to stand up, another wave came. This one was even bigger, and it pushed me down even deeper. It was Sunday, May 31st. The riots had hit Santa Monica and our store was hit. As I watched in sadness, terror, and frustration at the inability to stop it, I was losing faith. Faith in humanity and my ability to withstand these waves. I felt pushed so far deep into the sand underneath, I didn't know if I could ever come up for air at this point. I had just witnessed human beings at their worst. My beach was polluted by all those unkept waters of others, and I was lost. At that moment, I had lost my faith and trust in the universe. I did not feel connected, and in fact, I felt alone. I think many of us during the pandemic had a sense of solitude, not just from being physically separated from people, but having to sit with whatever the pandemic had stripped away from us. I sent out a mass text at that moment amidst the looting and asked for help to friends and family. Within minutes, friends were there standing in front of my store, trying to protect it and stop people from coming in. They couldn't withstand the crowd, so we had to walk away and accept what was happening. I didn't sleep that night. I got in my car before sunrise and went to start the cleanup process. And as I pulled up, there were over a dozen people in front of my store. Most were strangers, some were friends, but they were all cleaning up, sweeping up glass, organizing remnants of what was, and coming together like a team that had been working together for years to organize what was a tragedy in the store. People were pulling up all day. As a matter of fact, for days, they were dropping off food for my staff, my family, offering services, donating items to help get us back on our feet, and even started a fundraising campaign. My perspective changed immediately. I was still standing in the midst of a complete mess with no clear view of how I was going to get out of it, but I had hope. I had trust, and I knew that this was just a wave, a strong and forceful one that took me by surprise and swept me off my feet. But history of the ocean has told me that it comes down, washes away the debris, and gives me an opportunity to find my footing again. I decided I knew the rhythm of the ocean in the midst of this chaos, that its strength, as scary and as known as it can be, there is also a familiarness to it, a cadence, if you will. There were others tending to the health of that ocean because its health affects the entire ecosystem. You see, people look to the waters, remember? They look and they see their reflection, or maybe they see right through to the bottom, but they look. They are watching, protecting, and participating. Trusting that, like my emotions, I could ride this wave and make it out to the other side gave me the ability to stand up, to stop rolling around at the bottom and get a better view of the horizon and the beach. That gave me direction and it gave me strength. It gave me peace, joy, and hope. My faith in humanity and my ability to forge on was what kept me from polluting my own waters. At every turn, I decided to find the treasures, the heart-shaped rocks and the unique shells. When the insurance company wouldn't pay the claim and I didn't have the means for legal support, I took a step back and trusted that this adversity was giving me the experience for the future and leading me to meet someone or learn something new. I reached out to a small group of people in an email to see if anyone knew of a pro bono lawyer, and boom, a longtime acquaintance tells me that her husband happens to be one. He's also a legal insurance advisor. When we couldn't pay the rent and our payroll was too much for us to stay open and our PPP loan wasn't approved, I stepped back. I took a breath. I felt my feet on the ground, riding that wave of fear up to its height and felt it come crashing down and dissipate into the sand. I visually meditated on my feelings, riding them like a pro surfer, trusting the ocean of life is an infinite life source. And in this process, the murky waters started to clear. What I found below was fear, anxiety, mistrust, and a lot of history. What didn't serve me washed up and became shells, heart-shaped rocks, and unique ocean gems. No longer sharp objects or sea kelp that holds you down, but rather the very things that force you to get up and find your footing. Instead of being angry or sorry and sad about a situation, I took a step back and found the opportunity for growth, the opportunity to serve someone else and the ecosystem, the chance to see how this adversity was leading me to yet another great new relationship or opportunity. Sometimes it took more trust and patience than I thought I could ever have, but it was knowing that there is a power much larger than me, an invisible safety net, if you will, that will not let me fail and kept me going. And that moment of financial despair, this intangible faith seemed to not be enough, at least not for SCE, DWP, the IRS, and our landlord. But the community had rallied and raised over $180,000 for us. Then Mark Wahlberg came and visited our space and found out what I do for the youth in my nonprofit, and he took notice. He stepped in my life in a way that was more than just financial help. He connected so many dots for me with other people and relationships that to this day, I now maintain and protect with all my might. That has put me on a path that is literally lit by faith. My spiritual upbringing is rooted deep. It is my safety net. I am reminded by my mother often to focus on the key things in life. Are you safe? Are you loved? Are you fed? And are you housed? What we often get overwhelmed by doesn't fall into any of those key pillars, yet we respond as if they do. Oftentimes we can only see what is happening to us and not accept that it is happening around us. We can navigate and choose how we want to paddle through this ocean of life. We can surf those waves and go back for more, enjoying every moment it presents and take the wipeouts as lessons of what to watch out for and marks of bravery for trying. We can sail across the ocean and learn how to change our sails to navigate the changing winds, the freedom to change directions if we feel necessary. We create the map. We can dive in head first, not waiting for the waves to take us, but diving into them, through them, past the break to get deeper and enjoy that horizon on a more intimate level. There are so many ways to enjoy the ocean. What is key is recognizing that it connects, it heals, it provides a life force below and on the surface. It is a mirror to many looking for answers, and it is feared by many who haven't learned to trust the cadence and rhythm of the ocean, and that it will always bring you home if you let it. I will never forget being caught in a riptide surfing at the beach when I was 12 in Zuma. I remembered being immediately panicked by the lifeguards when they started to blow their whistle and everyone stood up on the beach to watch the two of us who were caught in it. I had felt the pull of the ocean earlier, but I wasn't scared. It wasn't until everyone around me had reacted to what was happening did I start to respond. Immediately, the older man who was near me, fighting and pulling at me, started yelling for me to hold on to him. I had gone to what I was taught as a little girl in surfing. You have options. You are okay. You can let it carry you out 50 feet or so and it will weaken, and then you can swim in, or you can swim diagonal, not against it, and break out of it and then swim to shore. But the bottom line is you are in control and can decide how you handle the riptide. I was on my back doing the backstroke diagonally to conserve energy and get out of the pool. I was able to swim to shore, unhelped by the lifeguards. On the other hand, the older gentleman almost drowned that day, fighting the riptide. As he flailed his arms, panicked, he had tired himself out. Luckily, there was a beach of people, lifeguards, and others who were ready to help pull him out. I'm sure he learned that day and took it with him from that point on, how to get out of a riptide. Like life, trusting that even the most awful experiences are lessons. They're preparing you for that future opportunity, giving you a gift to share with others. It's the training you get in the gym. It makes you stronger and more capable for the fight. I tell the kids that I work with in my nonprofit all the time because they come from much adversity. Hey, you guys are like fighters who have been getting all the training leading up to the fight. The adversity you have faced in your life is your gym. It's the heavy weightlifting of everyday survival that is going to give you the edge in this fight. Once you recognize and respect that, you almost welcome adversity and you look for challenges to overcome. I was robbed again recently, a few weeks ago at our store, and I was looking up to the sky thinking, all right, greater power, God, universe, what's the lesson here? Where's this opportunity? Then I asked the police who had witnessed the robbery and called it in since our alarm system had not gone off. It was a homeless woman. She was living in her car. I went up to thank her and ended up having a long conversation with her and asked her how she had ended up living in her car all these years. Turns out she was getting the runaround on her housing voucher and had other issues she was dealing with. I made her a promise in that moment that she would never sleep in her car again. To be honest, I didn't know how I was going to make good on it, but I made the promise. I put her up in a hotel with the help of some community friends and advocated for her for a month and found her a single apartment for her and her dog. She's just moved in a couple weeks ago. She's got a bed, food, and all the things her and her dog Cody need for a dignified life with shelter. And it took a village. But that night when I was robbed, I could have really focused on the loss. I now had to tell the new school account I got that those instruments they were waiting on were stolen. I had to pay for a new window, new security, take a hit I really couldn't afford. But instead I found the silver lining. I was supposed to meet Tracy and her dog Cody. We were placed in each other's path. It was no accident. She was a swimmer, swimming lost, pushed out to sea without direction and couldn't see land for miles. I took her ashore, but she kept me focused so that I could see the next wave coming and not let it take me down under, but rather helped me dive right into it. Watching it make its way to the beach as I gaze out to the horizon, connected, because we are all connected. Adversity has gained a bad rap. It is used to define people who have less, who have suffered more, and who need help. I have learned these past 2 years that adversity is my friend. In fact, I've redefined it. It's my biggest ally. Adversity is experience, it's knowledge, it's strength, it's opportunity, and quite frankly, it's the 101 of life. If there's one class you need to sign up for in life, it's adversity. If you can trust and hold space for your higher spirit, know and believe in that, all that commotion we have, believe in the health of the ecosystem and that you're an integral part of it. Welcome adversity because you know that it lights the path at night, like moonlight on the ocean, like a lighthouse leading you to shore, and like a sweet reminder that you are the captain of your own ship, the master of your surfboard. You decide how you take part in the ocean, trusting the process all along the way. So I just want to ask everybody to define for themselves what ocean you are. think about it in a way that maybe it's that ocean you remember growing up. Maybe it's the vacation ocean you've never been to. But to think about what all the parts of the ocean and how it's ever changing and how it connects us all. So I hope that resonated with some of you today. That's my metaphor. I love Mother Nature in general, but the ocean is definitely near and dear to my heart because I feel it has so many elements of how it connects everyone and how yet it can feel when you're standing looking out at the horizon. There's a sense of solitude, but there's also a sense of connection. And that is my talk for today.